Hey there, welcome to the Jeff and Heidi Show, where you're going to have the opportunity to listen to and learn from everyday entrepreneurs. Well, welcome to the Jeff and Heidi Show. We're excited to be here today with Krista Ripma with us and my co-host Heidi Anderson from ECI SecurePay and myself, Jeff Heggie. We are excited for this interview. Krista is a marketing coach, launch strategist, and co-founder of Authentic Audience, a full-service digital marketing and ad agency dedicated to serving brands who foster the best in self-care, self-love, and self-expression. Authentic Audience is a natural progression of Krista's previous successes in building million-plus Instagram followers, tripling online awareness, and engaging for her brands, and coaching hundreds of seasoned and novice business owners to find and speak their truth. She was recently featured in Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes and is the host of the Authentic Audience podcast. Well, thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit and let you tell a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I live and breathe the world of sales and marketing. And although that can feel slimy, inauthentic, you name it, we like to change that mindset and rewrite that story for people because oftentimes our clients are people who have something really incredible to get out into the world and a list of reasons why they're not. So I like to shorten that list and really connect people with their dream audience. So I'm sort of thinking of myself as the middleman between how I can hear somebody, who they want to reach, who they want to serve, and then help them find those people, connect them, and then let the magic happen. So it's a lot more honest and authentic, for lack of a better word, than I think a lot of people think. And what I found doing this work now, people are way more likely to resonate with you, to buy from you. Conscious consumerism is on the upswing, and people really care where they're putting their money and putting their energy. So the more honest, the more authentic the marketing, the more no nonsense, the easier it actually is to sell. So that's what I do. I teach courses. I work with people one-on-one. I have huge launch clients. I have people just starting out that come to me, and I try and create a service or offering for wherever you are in your launch or marketing journey so we can connect.
So who is your
Awesome.
ideal audience? Do you work more with, say, coaches, service-oriented people, or retail, or does it matter?
Honestly, when somebody's really passionate about what they do, that's my dream client. So when somebody has sort of maybe overcome or done a little bit of work on the money story, the money wound, like they're ready to go. They're not filled with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, all of these things. A lot of what I do, of course, is resistant coaching, but my dream client would be somebody who's like really confident in their offer, really passionate about serving people, okay with making money, okay with spending money. And so we can avoid all of that stuff and just like jump in and grow. But oftentimes the people who come to me have a block for whatever reason when it comes to launching. So we have to work through that mindset first before we can implement the strategy. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I've told this story before, but one of my favorite people I ever worked with was like a tanning woman who like did spray tans for my wedding. And I've never had someone take such care. And just from the moment you walked into her salon, I realized on Yelp she had like a month-long waiting list. And I was like, okay, I have to see why. My marketing brain was like, how is this possible? And I totally understood like the care that she took from the first email, from the intake form to the follow-up to the spray tan herself. It was like her art. And so it doesn't have to be like spiritual coaching or healers or anything like that. A lot of people come to me, real estate, small business owners, people who are just here to serve and are really excited about what they do. That's sort of the only criteria I have.
That I love this because you solve a lot of problems for clients, because a
I
lot
do.
of clients right from the beginning, it's not even given an authentic message. It's who is my target audience? So do you work with them on that too? And how do you identify that? And then where do you go from there?
Great question. So I'm glad you asked. My favorite place to start with anybody is we get really caught up, I think, in target audience and what this means. So, like women ages like 35 to 65 with these likes and this and that. And that's great if you ever want to run ads, because obviously you have to like determine who you're serving your ad to. But beyond that, there's somebody out there right now that needs what you have. And the more specific we can get in speaking to this person versus, a sea of people. But when we actually envision somebody on the other end of the screen, on the other end of the phone, reading our blog, whatever it is that we're putting out there, our article, when we can actually picture this person who we're talking to, it becomes so much easier. So the first thing that I have people do is actually write a letter to their dream client. Um, and this isn't about, I want people to think about where else they're shopping, what other brands they follow, who inspires them, what books they're reading, what podcasts they're listening to really get more in the head of how best to serve them. But really, there's somebody out there that you created this for. Who are they? Talk to them. What pain points are they experiencing right now? What kind of transformation do they need? What kind of value can you provide to them that will enhance their quality of life right now in this moment? And it becomes so much easier when you do that, because your ego gets removed. And instead of what do I have to say today, it's how can I best serve or enhance the quality of life of my dream client today. So it's sort of a trick, a mindset trick also, in removing your own ego from sales, marketing, writing, posting, sharing. And also it's a win-win because you want somebody to feel in resonance with whatever it is. Even I'll use a big example like the Hyatt. I am like a Hyatt Rewards member. I love the Hyatt, and I feel so seen by the Hyatt. So I am totally their dream client or their dream guest. Whenever I go in there, they even have the roller, like the foam roller in the closets that I have, like down to those things. Like they've done their
Wow.
research. And so I get in there and I feel seen. I feel seen by them. So I want to upgrade my room and I want to get the bath salts and all of this stuff because they literally had me or somebody like me in mind. So we want our clients to feel seen, or our customers to feel seen. So I hope that Hyatt example maybe explains that a little bit better.
Now, you mentioned launch. So do you work more with like startup people who are just launching a new business, or do you work with a business that's been around for a few years and just needs a new, fresh exposure? Or
Yeah, I think I use the word launch because anytime we're putting something new into the world, I like to create like a launch strategy around it. So even if you've been around for a long time, you're announcing a new product, a new service, or you're launching from the very beginning, you're launching your brand and your service at the same time. I like to work in 90-day sprints. And so oftentimes the difference between a launch and going on and on with a client is if their offer is available all the time, which is an evergreen offer, which is from a marketing standpoint pretty hard to sell because there's no urgency and no scarcity. So when I use the word launch, typically there's some sort of urgency and scarcity. There's a time frame on it. We have a warm up, we have an open cart, we have a downsell, and I like taking people through that process and then helping them figure out what works for them in terms of a launch strategy. So whenever they're putting something new out into the world, they're like, okay, great. I have my launch strategy. I know what works. I know how many posts I need. I know what ads I need to run, how much I should spend, most importantly, to see that return. And get people in that mindset of thinking of like all these little mini launches. They all deserve their own care and attention. Regardless how big or how small the new product is.
okay.
I'm going to skip back for a bit there. Something you said about finding your ideal client and taking your own ego out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd share a story with you with one of my companies I had. We have a manufacturing company that we did all our manufacturing in Canada and the US, and we attempted to outsource some to Vietnam at one time. And the product came, everything I had approved ahead of time. But when product comes from Vietnam in a container, it's not like you just ship it back to the factory if it's wrong. And the coloring on it was completely wrong. And I looked at it, and from my point of view, I said, we're never going to sell this stuff. We just blew all this money. And out of all the stuff we ordered there from that factory, that was the first thing we sold out of. And so that's the difference between going with what I thought, my ego, and what our customers were looking for. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that story that you shared on that.
That happens all the time. I can't tell you how much that happens. Like my husband, for example, is my business partner and he's not my dream client. So oftentimes I'll like run an idea by him or share something and he's like, "Oh, I don't think that's going to work." And I'm like, "Whatever, I'm going to do this anyway. I don't know why I even asked." And it ends up being like the most successful or the most popular share, post, blog, article, workshop, whatever you name it. And so I think when you can have that person in mind, it's like, will X like this? Will so-and-so resonate with this? And then you can really start talking to this person and creating and sharing and serving them. And it just becomes a lot more fun that way. Sometimes we are our own dream clients, but oftentimes we're not. Either we were at one point before we found this product or service or industry or whatever offering we're providing. So oftentimes our dream client can be you before you started using, selling, sharing this thing, before you found the transformation. So that's always a good place to start. But oftentimes it's not. Mine isn't. So I have to really do that work to call in that person. A lot of the work that I do is so much strategy, but there has to be this sort of intuitive listening to the business. I say all the time, like you are not your business. So you really need to be able to listen to what your business needs you to do. And sometimes it's not in total alignment with what you would do. And so I think having that observer sort of mindset of how can I be in better service to my clients and how can I be in service to my business today? I mean, today's a perfect example. I woke up late. I've had this morning, the water got shut off, all of this stuff, so stressed out. Nobody cares how I show up today in terms of how I look. It's about the value that I show up with on these calls. So, how can I be in service today was like, shake it off, grab a cup of coffee, crush these interviews, crush my interviews, teach my first course tonight. And like, then I can relax and go for a swim, go for a run, whatever. But if I made it about me, it becomes so like exhausting. If you make it about yourself all the time. And I think as business owners, entrepreneurs, people who have a lot on our plate, we tend to make it about ourselves a lot.
We really do. And I was actually talking about that on my other podcast this week. And I think especially, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs have, do you have additional staff besides you and your husband?
I do.
Okay.
But we're strapped.
Yeah. Like a lot of entrepreneurs are small businesses. They don't have huge staff with them. And they don't always recognize that how they're doing everything has such a vital impact on their staff as well. And so when you can handle that better, and that's part of the leadership of your company is, showing your staff how they should be handling these things as well, I think
that's super important. And oftentimes I'm really lucky with my team. They're inspiring me and they're reminding me in the same way, like how they show up to a call, how they handle something, they make me want to show up better. And I think that's all we're really looking for in leaders. That's all I'm looking for is somebody that makes me want to show up better, not intimidating, doesn't talk down to me. I mean, I've had so many bosses. I've worked for so many people. It's part of the reason why I went into business for myself, where I was just treated so horribly and talked down to so much. And now as a business owner, I realize it comes from fear. It comes from not knowing something. So oftentimes in business, if somebody's like unsure, they're actually just mean, to cover it up and things like that. So yeah, I think leadership in business and creating a culture, especially creating that culture in our company is really, really, really important to me. So there's a lot of moving pieces at all times as an entrepreneur. It's lonely, it's overwhelming, it's scary, but really as an entrepreneur, small business owner, you have this zone of genius, this something that when you get into that flow, when you get into doing that thing, you don't look at the clock, you don't get up and get a cup of coffee, and that's how you can really be in service. But I think what we forget when we go into business is there's this whole other piece of administration and scheduling and accounting and HR that might not be in your zone of genius, and balancing those things of where to put your flow and your energy and your creativity and what you're here to do, and also have business responsibilities and either learn it, delegate it, figure it out. It's a process, and I'm still new to it. We're only 4 years old. And I feel really grateful that we've had the success that we've had, that we've created the culture that we've created. But I'm like pivoting and evolving and hiring and firing. And I mean, nobody taught me how to do business. What I'm really good at is marketing, is creating, is strategy, is all this stuff. But in order to have a successful business, there's so many other elements that have to come into that, and it's overwhelming.
You know,
Yeah, it is. It's challenging when you're like the other side of it. Like, I'm more of the accounting numbers kind of person, but I get pushed into where I'm having to do marketing and sales and everything because it's still my business, right?
Right.
And yeah, and have to shift your mindset and think differently, because it's kind of like, well, this would be a really good idea, but then the accountant's going, but you don't really want to spend that money. But we really need to do this. And they're both in your head, so it's good to have a good sounding board and have a good team around you. You said you've got the people that work with you inspire you, but you've had to do some shuffling there.
Oh yeah, I think that's I think that's such a good point, and such an important part that I never get to address or talk about, is like firing people is so hard, and finding the right people is so hard. I mean, finding somebody, like I have my accounting CEO, COO, sort of operations scheduling person, and I couldn't function without her. And it's taken almost 3 years for us to like get into the flow. And then through that process, I've had to hire and fire. And you just don't think about that when you're like, oh, I want to start this company and I want to launch this thing, that one day you might have to fire somebody. So I think that there's doing what you do as your gift, as your specialty, like you said, your spreadsheets, your accounting. And then there's the rest of the things and the business responsibilities that you have. And with my company, with helping people with their sales and marketing, is oftentimes marketing and sales is not your zone of genius, which is great because otherwise I wouldn't have a job. But my job and my goal is to help you spend as little time as possible on sales and marketing for maximum results, to get you back into doing what you do best. So helping you to automate flows, helping you to find that launch strategy that works. So it's like, okay, when I am spending my time on marketing and sales, I know exactly where I should be doing it. I'm not throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks. I know my path. I know how many hours I need to spend, and then I can go back into doing what I do best. So just to bring it back to what I really love doing, is helping people who have no idea where to put their time, energy, and especially money when it comes to sales and marketing, find that key strategy, implement it, automate it, and then get back to doing what you love.
Great.
You know, I just want to bring something up. Out of our last 4 interviews, you're the third one to use the term zone of genius. And I love that term. So will you just go into that a little bit? Explain what you mean by that.
This is Gay Hendricks. Everybody is stealing this from Gay Hendricks. So anybody who is saying zone of genius, it's Gay Hendricks. His book, The Big Leap, was written a long time ago. Are you guys familiar with Gay Hendricks? Yeah. So he writes about business, about love, everything in between. He's been writing for like decades. And I actually had him on my podcast. And in his book, The Big Leap, he talks about our zone of genius, our zone of excellence, and then our zone of competence. And oftentimes we're operating in our zone of excellence, and we're actually not in our zone of genius. So we're doing things that we're good at, and that we can do. For example, with me, it's like building websites or landing pages or things like that. I really like, and I'm really good at getting into the nitty gritty of building things online. But is that where my zone of genius lies? No, it's connecting with people. It's high level strategy. It's that connection, that mindset shift, all of that stuff. But it's so easy to fall into our zone of excellence because we're good at it. But there is a difference when you're doing something you're good at versus like really in the flow. You black out, time goes by, you've just created something or worked on something. For my head of operations, it's our spreadsheets, it's our flows. Like she'll just get herself lost in that all day. Where for me, I'm like, get me away from this spreadsheet. I'm allergic to task management, that kind of stuff. So I think just being aware is the first step of like where your zone of genius is, what the things you're really good at, but maybe you're spending too much time in. And then the zone of competence is things that you should not be doing, and that just totally take away. They're not a good ROI for your business or for your own mental health. So that's where that comes from. And I think Gay Hendricks is a big influencer on a lot of entrepreneurs from like the baby boomers down to the millennials. For some reason, he just, I don't know what it is about him, but we're just drawn to him as entrepreneurs.
Now, is that book a good one for helping people figure out what their zone of genius is?
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes I don't. Sometimes I know, like I said, I know what I'm good at. I know my strong suits, but I don't really know what my zone of genius is. So that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good book to find that. And I think it's always sort of evolving too, where your zone of genius might lie, but it's like that fundamental gift that you bring with you into not just your work, but your business, relationships, friendships, marriage, like with your family. Like, what is that thing that if you were to interview the 10 people closest to you, that they would all say about you, like, this is my favorite thing. And how can we bring that into our work, and actually maybe monetize that area?
That would be a good question to ask people, I guess. Like, what do you like about me?
Yeah. What are my gifts? Tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I do in my marketing fundamentals courses. I have people share their gifts, and this really sweet woman couldn't think of her gifts. And this is such an ego thing. And her team was on the call, and I asked them to tell her what her gifts were. And sometimes it's hard to hear, and it's hard to like recognize it, but also it's not an ego thing. It's like, this is what you're presenting out there. It's good to know it. It's good to be able to know it, to share it, how you're resonating with people and how you can serve and help more people is by being really clear on what those gifts are and just standing in it, and owning it. So that's a lot of what I do. And in addition to marketing is this kind of conversation that we're having. Because when it comes to the strategy, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm helping people with sales funnels. We're creating value adds, and it's honest, it's authentic. We're sharing our why, but I'm not the first one. Simon Sinek, Start With Why. That's also a really big TED Talk and book in the entrepreneurial space. And I just think that at the end of the day, it's our own internal demons that are going to stop us in business. And so oftentimes I am addressing that with people and helping them just get out of their own way.
That's great. We're kind of already on the topic, so I'm going to bring it up now. I always try to sneak this in at some point, and you might have already answered it. What has been the most impactful book that you've ever read?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I love reading. The most impactful book, it's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. That it was the timing that I found it. It was, if I could recommend one book to anybody, even this morning, we're sort of going through a lot of stuff personally, financially, talking about buying a house, like all of these big things are happening in my world. And my husband likes to open up the book to like one page. So if you're not familiar with the book, it's Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. So you have a verse of the Tao Te Ching, and then Wayne Dyer like takes his modern spin on what that verse means for like 5 or 6, sometimes 10 pages. And what he did was he would read a verse and then meditate on it for like over a week and then write what came through. And that book really did change my thoughts, change my life. Like, it's so true. It's so simple. And every day I turn to a page in that book randomly after months of it's like the exact verse and the exact thing that I needed to hear. From a business standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from a personal, emotional, that book definitely had the biggest impact.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess, first of all, I want to make sure that any of our listeners that are potential clients or your ideal clients, I want to make sure they know that that's what they are. I guess saying, what's your geographic area, and just explain exactly who works with you.
Yeah, I mean, people usually find me through social media or through a live workshop. I teach workshops a lot. So last week I just taught a sales funnel masterclass on how to create a sales funnel for your business. So if any of this resonated with you and this basic take on business feels good to you and you want to explore it more, the best way to work together is I do this custom strategy session for people. So it's a 90-minute deep dive together, and then I build you a custom 30, 60, and 90-day strategy based on your own needs, goals, budget, etc. So that, I mean, if you have something you want to launch, you don't know how to launch it, or you have a break in your flow. So you have really good success with your product or service, but you're not attracting enough people into your funnel. So basically, if there's a break in your flow somewhere, we look at where that is and we create a strategy to fix that. So our buyer's journey is awareness, consideration, and purchase. And then obviously we want to continue nurturing people after that. And if this sounds like something you want to automate, get in place, help being able to turn that faucet on when you're ready for new clients, customers, leads, knowing that they're going to be taken care of and held throughout that process through emails, ads, webinars, workshops, freebies, giveaways, things like that. And you want to learn how to basically build deeper relationships with your customers, that's who I'm working with right now. Also, I do have a marketing fundamentals course. So if you are an entrepreneur with an idea that you want to get out into the world and you are super overwhelmed by the vast world of digital marketing, should I do SEO? Should I write a blog? Should I do Facebook ads? Should I do YouTube? Do I need a LinkedIn strategy? These kinds of questions. I do a 4-week marketing fundamentals course that helps entrepreneurs sort of dive into the 4 main pillars of creating a really successful marketing strategy. And if any of that resonates, basically, if somebody resonates with the words that I say, the business take I have on connecting with your dream client, calling in your business, separating yourself, that kind of work, then our strategies will work for you. So if after listening to this, you want to hear more, then you're probably my dream client, because if you're not, then you're probably not resonating with any of this. And that's good, because we don't want to resonate with everybody. We really want to be honest, to be authentic, to be ourselves, and reach those people that we're here to reach. So if this doesn't resonate with you, then I'm also doing my job, because I'm getting really specific in who I'm calling in. So that's how we can work together. I have a podcast. I like to interview people who have done cool, exciting things with their business in a way that inspires me and I feel is authentic to who they are and really serving their audience in an awesome way. And a lot of people get a lot out of just listening to that. So lots of ways. And then if you want to launch something huge, we can take care of you. So all of the things, and we just need to attack it in an honest way that really speaks to who we're trying to reach.
Now, so somebody hires you for the 90-day thing. So, and webinars, all this stuff. You help create those, the webinars?
Yeah,
And
it depends. I can just build you the strategy and give you the tools. And oftentimes my clients are just starting out and they need to do it themselves. And I help and I teach them. I love teaching, but we can also do it all for you. We have a great team of developers, designers, email marketers that can build out the entire funnel for you. If you're like, this is not my zone of genius and I'm just going to delegate this to you and value you and pay you to do it, then great.
so I'm sorry. So if somebody wants to, like, they reach out to you and say, like, this is what I'm doing. We can have like a quick conversation. You can go yes or no. That's something I would be good with, or no, I'm
and
not down.
oftentimes if it's a no, I can point you to somebody who can better
It's more
serve.
that.
Yeah, because that's
Okay.
really important to me. We both need to be thriving. So if I'm not the best fit, I'll tell you. And I love my network. I love my people, and I'll point you in a direction that's better for you.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, Krista, your podcast is Authentic Audience Podcast.
Yep.
What are your Instagram, email, websites, whatever you want to share?
Sure. Everything you can find is on authenticaudience.co.co. You can find everything there, our offerings, our links to our workshops, upcoming courses, custom strategy sessions. You can read more about that. Everything lives there. And then on social media, on Instagram, I'm mostly there. It's just Krista Ripma, all one word on Instagram. And I post a lot there. I try and be as honest and authentic as I ask my clients to be.
Great.
And I will put all the links in the show notes
Cool.
too, so anyone can get them there. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on here and get to know more about you and what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Krista.
much.
Have a fabulous day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.